Nnamdi Okofor wiped the sweat off his brow as he hurriedly arranged crates of imported goods inside the large warehouse. It had been 6 long years since he left his home in Nui, Anambra State, to serve as an apprentice under Chief Obiora Nwankwo, a wealthy businessman in Lagos. The Igbo apprenticeship system, known as Igba Boy, was a respected tradition, promising young men like Nnamdi a bright future if they served their masters diligently. When Nnamdi's uncle had first introduced him to Chief Obiora, he had been filled with hope. Obiora was a successful trader in electronics, known for his vast wealth and fleet of luxury cars. He had built a thriving business empire from scratch and was seen as a generous man who uplifted young boys into millionaires. Work hard, be loyal, and after a few years, I will settle you with capital to start your own business, Obiora had assured him. And so, Nnamdi threw himself into the business with all his strength. He worked tirelessly from dawn till dusk, handling sales, keeping records, and even managing some of Obiora's business dealings when the boss was away. He endured hunger, insults, and sleepless nights, believing that his time of reward would eventually come. By the 7th year, Nnamdi had become indispensable to the business. He knew all the suppliers in China, could negotiate deals better than most senior staff, and had even expanded the customer base. Customers trusted him, and some even preferred dealing with him instead of Chief Obiora. But the promises of settlement soon began to feel like an illusion. Each time Nnamdi brought up the topic, Obiora would brush him off with vague responses. "Be patient, my boy. Your time will come," he would say, patting Nnamdi on the back. At first, Nnamdi convinced himself that it was just a matter of time. But then, he started noticing troubling signs. One day, he overheard 2 senior workers discussing in hushed tones. "Has Oga settled any apprentice in recent years?" one asked. The other scoffed. "Setoko. He only uses them and discards them. That's how he keeps getting richer." A cold fear gripped Nnamdi's heart, but he refused to believe it. Chief Obiora had always been good to him, hadn't he? One evening, after a particularly stressful day at the shop, Nnamdi decided he could no longer wait. He approached Chief Obiora directly. "Oga, I have served you faithfully for 7 years. You promised to settle me so I can start my own business," he said, his voice steady but firm. Chief Obiora leaned back in his leather chair and sighed. "Nnamdi, things are tough now. The economy is not as it used to be. Give me some more time. But sir, I have seen the profits of this business. I know things are not bad. Please, I need to start my life." Obiora's eyes hardened. "Are you accusing me of lying?" Nnamdi's heart sank. He knew then that he had been deceived. Days turned into weeks, and it became clear that Obiora had no intention of settling him. Rumors spread that the boss had done the same to many other apprentices before him. Some had left empty-handed, too ashamed to return home. Others had tried to fight back but were crushed by Obiora's wealth and influence. One day, in a final act of desperation, Nnamdi confronted him again, this time in the presence of other workers. "Sir, I will not live without what is rightfully mine. I have given you my youth, my energy, and my loyalty. I deserve my settlement." Obiora smirked and leaned forward. "Nnamdi, my boy, you have nothing in writing. No proof. If you want to fight me, go ahead. But remember, I have money, connections, and power. You have nothing." The words hit Nnamdi like a hammer. He had been a fool. Broken but not defeated, Nnamdi refused to give up. He reached out to the Igbo business community, telling them his story. At first, many were afraid to speak against Obiora, but eventually, some elders intervened. They called for a mono meeting, a traditional gathering where disputes were settled. Obiora was summoned before respected elders and asked to explain himself. "Nnamdi is ungrateful," he argued. "I housed him, fed him, and trained him in business. That alone is settlement." But Nnamdi stood his ground. "Oga, that was not our agreement. You gave your word. In Igbo land, a man's word is his bond." The elders deliberated, and to Obiora's surprise, they ruled in Nnamdi's favor. "You must settle him, or you will lose the respect of the community," the eldest among them declared. Obiora, knowing that his reputation was at stake, reluctantly agreed. But instead of giving Nnamdi a fair settlement, he offered him a small sum, barely enough to start a petty trade. Nnamdi refused. "I will not accept crumbs. I deserve what I worked for." Realizing that he had underestimated Nnamdi's determination, Obiora decided to use threats and intimidation. Thugs were sent to harass Nnamdi, and false accusations were made against him. But Nnamdi had learned from the best. He had contacts, he had evidence, and most importantly, he had truth on his side. He took the matter to court. It was a long, bitter battle, but the case gained attention. The media picked it up, and soon, other apprentices who had suffered under Obiora came forward with their own testimonies. In the end, the court ruled in Nnamdi's favor. Chief Obiora was ordered to pay him a fair settlement. But more importantly, his reputation was damaged beyond repair. No one wanted to do business with a man who betrayed his own apprentices. With his settlement money, Nnamdi started his own electronics business. He worked hard, and within a few years, he had built a thriving enterprise. But unlike his former master, he vowed to uphold the tradition of Igbo boy with honesty. Years later, when he had his own apprentices, he did what Obiora failed to do. He settled them properly, ensuring that the cycle of growth and prosperity continued. And so, Nnamdi became not just a businessman but a beacon of hope for young Igbo apprentices, proving that integrity, perseverance, and justice would always triumph over greed and betrayal. With the settlement money finally in his hands, Nnamdi Okofor wasted no time. He secured a small shop in Alaba International Market, one of Lagos's biggest hubs for electronics. Though it was a modest space compared to Chief Obiora's empire, it was his, built with his sweat, struggle, and determination. At first, things were tough. Without a big name or strong connections, suppliers hesitated to give him goods on credit. But Nnamdi was resourceful. He reached out to some of the customers he had served under Obiora, reminding them of his honesty and dedication. Slowly, word spread that Nnamdi was back in business, this time on his own terms. Unlike his former master, he treated his customers and workers with respect. He gave fair prices, honored his agreements, and never engaged in shady business practices. Within a few years, Nnamdi Enterprises grew from one small shop to multiple outlets across Lagos, Onitsha, and Abia. But Nnamdi didn't stop there. He remembered the pain of being nearly robbed of his future and vowed to ensure that no other apprentice suffered the same fate. By now, Chief Obiora's influence had dwindled. His refusal to settle his apprentices had become public knowledge, and no young boy wanted to serve under him. Former business associates distanced themselves from him, preferring to work with men of integrity. One day, a young man named Chibuzo visited Nnamdi's shop. He looked thin and exhausted, his eyes filled with the same desperation Nnamdi had once felt. "Sir, I heard about how you fought for your settlement. I served under Chief Obiora too, but he refused to settle me," Chibuzo said, his voice shaking. Nnamdi clenched his fist. How many more had suffered in silence? Determined to make a difference, he gathered a group of former apprentices who had been cheated by their masters. Together, they formed an apprentice welfare union, advocating for fair settlement and business ethics. They worked with legal experts and community leaders to ensure that young apprentices had written agreements before starting their service. Their movement gained momentum, and soon, cases like Chibuzo's were being addressed. Some greedy masters were exposed and forced to settle their boys, while others saw the change coming and chose to do the right thing. One evening, as Nnamdi sat in his Lagos office reviewing sales reports, he received an unexpected visitor. It was Chief Obiora. The once powerful businessman looked nothing like the man Nnamdi had served. His clothes were less flashy, and his face carried the weight of regret. "Nnamdi," he began hesitantly, "I need your help." Nnamdi folded his arms. "Help? The way you helped me when I needed my settlement." Obiora sighed. "I made mistakes. I thought keeping my apprentices under me made me stronger. But I was wrong. My business is failing, and I have no one to turn to. For a moment, Nnamdi was silent. He thought of the years of hardship, the insults, and the betrayal. But he also thought of the lesson life had taught him, that true success was not about revenge, but about doing what was right. Chief Obiora, I will not give you money, Nnamdi finally said. But I will give you advice. Treat people well, and they will stand by you. You lost your empire because you failed to build others. Obiora nodded slowly, tears brimming in his eyes. As he walked away, Nnamdi felt no hatred, only a deep sense of fulfillment. He had won, not just in business, but in life. Years later, Nnamdi sat in his grand office, watching as his latest batch of apprentices went through their final training before being settled. Each of them had a written agreement, ensuring they would never suffer what he had endured. As he handed them their settlement packages, he smiled. This is not just money, he told them. This is your future. Use it wisely, grow your business, and when your time comes, help others rise.